Man alive, when the Broncos play on Monday night, Mace, allow me to and it's an airing of the grievances to start today's Wednesday edition of Orange and Blue Today. It just messes up my schedule, brother. I'm like, is it Wednesday? Is it Tuesday? Is it on the Tuesday? Like, I have no idea what it is. Broncos didn't practice today, so it's like, I'm just all out of sorts. I apologize if I'm a bit off today.
Well, they did something post Monday night with a Sunday game following that I have never seen an NFL team do before, at least any NFL team that I have covered, which is to have the off day be Wednesday rather than Tuesday. See, that's the thing. Usually what teams do after Monday Night Football is they'll have the players' off day be Tuesday and then Wednesday get back to practice. The Broncos instead decided to do a Tuesday that was like a football Monday, so they did their debriefing/film review, and then decided to have the mandated off day because you have to have a player's day off one day in the week. That's mandated per the NFLPA collective bargaining agreement. You have to have one day off, and they chose to have the day off on Wednesday. Thus, no Wednesday practice for the Broncos. So that's why when they issued an injury report, Cease, they issued an estimated injury report. Kind of like they do for Thursday Night Football, they issue an estimated injury report on the Monday leading into Thursday because they don't have a practice. So it was an estimated injury report today, which included the news that Nate Adkins was in the concussion protocol because he was the only player listed as DNP due to a concussion suffered Monday night. Of course, we saw him during the game in the blue medical tent on the sideline in the second half, and now we know that he did indeed suffer a concussion in the game. So he was the only DNP projected from the fake practice that did not happen out there at Broncos headquarters today.
Yeah, there's nothing better than an estimated practice, but here we go. And that's why, Mace, you had a great idea for a topic about what have we learned about the Broncos over the first month of the season. Week 1 is a liar. Week 4 is less of a liar. And after 1 month, we can kind of look back at what we thought at the beginning of training camp, what we thought after training camp, and now what we think. You know, I think there's kind of mile markers along the road to Santa Clara. And on those mile markers, you can tell how far you've gone, how far you have left to go, right? When you see that sign that says Santa Clara 60 miles away, like, so we're getting these kind of clues as we go into this thing. And one of the questions on the mind of everybody, Mace, that I guess we have to answer of what have we learned about this Broncos offense, Bo Nix and Sean Payton in year 2 here?
Well, I think we have a better idea now than we had going into week 4. I think the first thing we know is we know what they want it to look like. And that was why I thought the word that you heard so often Monday night that you heard from multiple players, you heard identity thrown around quite a bit.
Yes.
Like that, I think, was really the most important thing that was said. Not just how they performed. I mean, they dominated a bad team, which is what you're supposed to do. But finding an identity, A, because so many Broncos teams of recent vintage have struggled to ever find an identity, and B, if the identity looks like that, which is until they hit 2 minute in the first half, having a nearly perfect balance of run and pass. Obviously, they were able to stay on schedule, which allowed for that. But getting to establish the run, having things get into a nice rhythm. Okay, this is how they want it to look. Now, the key then becomes actually having the patience to stick with it when teams try to take away your attempts to establish your identity. But the thing is, if it's your identity, then you stick to it. Like it becomes who you are.
Who you are.
And if it is truly your identity, then you become more patient with it and you try to mold the game to what your identity is, rather than trying to play the game that the opponent is trying to force you to play. You play your game. You force them to play the game you want them to play. That is part of why having an identity becomes key. You become proactive rather than reactive in trying to mold the game to your terms. And so that, I think that's, words are words, but hearing that so often, I think that was a pretty telling statement from a lot of those Broncos after the game Monday, and even hearing it on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, I think it's a telling statement, and it's certainly on their minds. And now you can look forward to building off of that. I think one thing that I've learned over the first month of the season, Mace, with Bo Nix, just with this offense, it's like work in progress.
Yeah.
Work in progress. There's nothing wrong with that. We weren't expecting it to be lights out right from the beginning. I did expect more from Evan Ingram to this point. Of course, a little banged up, whatever, missed a contest. But like just based on what we saw in training camp to base till now, I'm like, wow, Ingram. I thought Ingram was going to do more based on camp, not the preseason catch from Jarrett Stidham, but just based on camp.
Yeah, that's been a disappointment. Now, he did get a little bit more involved Monday, but still his snap count, it's not high. It's still below 50%. So we're still not seeing him used as frequently as I think we all expected going into the season. So that's something that I think remains interesting on Ingram, is the frequency of use there has not gone to a rate that I think we all expected, not just in terms of targets, but simply in terms of how often he's on the field. Like I think we all figured Ingram would end up playing about 60% of the snaps at least, right?
Right.
Not in any game has he come anywhere close to that.
Yeah, it's been a curious move, and we'll see if it grows. Things can change. I always talk about windows in fantasy football. Well, it's windows in the NFL too. Like, we've had this 4-week window. They look like this. After week 8, they might look completely different, both good and bad, right? They might take steps forwards. They might take steps back. That's where we look for Ingram to do more going forward. Another thing that I love, and we talked about it plenty yesterday, so we don't have to belabor it today. Unless you want to, I'm all down for belaboring anything. JK, man, just the chef's kiss for JK Dobbins, the ultimate compliment on this show right here, because that's what you get with the guy when they implement wide zone. And I said this today on Dover and Cecil. I'll repeat it here for this audience. Like, wide zone was for JK. Wide zone was not for RJ. RJ was inside zone at UCF. Wide zone was for JK. And man alive, is he coming through. And RJ's looking good in it too, as he learns those concepts.
Yeah. Oh, man, his last 3 games per carry average, 5.4, 7.5, 6.3. Now, of course, in the second game of that, the Chargers, they had the 41-yard carry that kind of boosted that. But even if you take that out, he's still at 4.2, which is, that's not great, but it's fine. That's sufficient. I mean, think of how many times last year your primary running back, despite the number 1 run blocking line in the league per ESPN Analytics, think of how many times your primary running back was below 4.0. It was far more often than not. And then to me, the stat that just defines how excited you are about not only Dobbins, but the entire running game is that Dobbins and RJ Harvey combined to average 5.3 yards a carry on Monday night, and you didn't have a run longer than 16 yards. Like, that's where you wanted this thing to go. If you're getting that kind of average, and for Dobbins alone, 6.3 a carry, and his longest run was 16, that's what you're aiming for here. You're aiming for a high per carry average, with it happening with a lot of just solid punches, rather than the big haymaker. That means you're jabbing him to death. It's death by paper cuts at that point. It also means that you've got the offensive line getting out in front. It means you're exacting your will on an opponent. Now, the challenge is going to be much sterner this coming week against Philadelphia, and I'd say this is going to probably look a little different, but this is where, if you've established your identity, this is where you've got to underscore that. Say, okay, if this is our identity, we're going to stick with it. even though the results may not be as robust as they were last Monday. And that's the test of an identity, if you stick with it. If when you, instead of getting 6 yards, you're getting 4 yards. 4 yards is still on schedule, right?
Oh, yeah.
And even if you go 3 and out, or if you get 1 first down and then your next drive, your next series of downs, it peters out and then you punt. You can't go away from it. You have to be persistent with it. Now, at that point, it's also incumbent on the defense to hold up its end of the bargain and not let the game get away from you. That's the whole thing of complementary football. But but the other thing is, if you truly believe in this, at least until the second half. Now, if you're behind 3 scores in the second half, then you got to throw caution to the wind. But in the first half, don't panic, okay? Even if you look up in the second quarter and you're down 17-3, you still on offense, you stick with your identity. You still play your game. That's the thing.
Right.
And too often, sometimes, if the Broncos get into a hole early, I think sometimes they get a little bit too panicked, and you can't do that. If you truly believe in your identity as a balanced offense and your identity is establishing the run, then you have to stick with it. And the teams that are truly effective at running the ball and making sure they have that balance, which does set up the play action, which does open up so much more down the field over the long range of a game, those successful teams are the ones that do that truly establish that as the identity. So I'm encouraged by the fact that they believe this is their identity. I'm encouraged by that, but the test is when it gets tough. And yes, it may get tough on Sunday.
Yeah, resolute is the word. And also, aren't you exactly describing the Eagles? You know what I mean? The team that wins the ugliest way in the NFL and they're undefeated. They are winning ugly in every single game, but they're just winning because they stick with it. It's not working with Barkley. The numbers this year, they were number 1 last year in yards before contact, Mace. You and I appreciate advanced data. Yards before contact will tell you kind of a gauge on the offensive line, like what kind of holes are they opening. The Eagles were number 1 last year, almost 3 yards a carry before Barkley was getting touched. This year, 16th, 1.2 yards a carry before contact. It's a big difference.
Yeah, and if you look at them right now, they're 17th in offensive DVOA, 14th in defensive DVOA, and 21st in special teams DVOA. In other words, the Broncos are ranked higher than them in all 3 categories. The Broncos are 10th, and 19th. Broncos, by the way, one of only 3 teams in the league that are top 10 in both offense and defense DVOA. Okay?
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, they're 10th in both, so, they're not, in the top 5, top 3, of course, but still, that's notable. And the Eagles are 4-0, and the Broncos are 2-2. So what like I've said, the Eagles, they do it when they have to, and they're very resourceful, but it also does tell you there maybe is a little bit of smoke and mirrors to what they're doing, too.
Yeah, definitely something to, if you're the Broncos, look forward to this matchup in this game. We look forward to talking a little Broncos defense, but before we do that, how about we go ahead and hear a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
What have we learned about Vance Joseph's defense this year, Mace? A lot of questions there for people out there.
Great at home, awful on the road, for one thing. And that it was interesting to hear that come up after the game Monday and again on Tuesday in terms of the crowd noise and even I know even the Bengals kind of brought it up as well. So you have the Broncos anticipating the snap really well, especially at home when you've got silent count working and the crowd noise working. And we've talked a lot about the form of this defense since the 1st of last December, since that Cleveland game. And certainly quality of quarterback play goes hand in hand with that. But also, it's definitely worth noting that all but one of the poor performances, the truly poor performances, have happened on the road. I mean, the Cleveland game was at home when Jerry Jeudy put up the huge number. And then, of course, you had the game against the Colts where Jonathan Taylor went over 100, but Anthony Richardson melted down and, of course, had to give away in the fourth quarter, and Nick Bonito anticipated that perfectly and went to the house. But then you look at the road games in that span, and it's 2 at the Chargers, and the Chargers pulled away from you in the 1 last year. Just a nice balanced attack that diced you up in every way. And then, of course, what happened recently against the Chargers, where they had 29 first downs. Again, Broncos have only allowed more first downs than that 10 times in their history. And, of course, the Bengals game last year, where they didn't punt until overtime. The Bills game in January, where the Bills only punted once and had 40 minutes plus of time of possession. And then the Colts game, another game where there were no punts in regulation, no punts in the game for the Colts. So there's a pattern here, right? Broncos defense on the road against decent to good quarterbacks, it's been rough going back basically a half season plus. So it's a Jekyll and Hyde defense. When it's good, as we see, when it's good, it's terrific, but that terrific play still has been against Anthony Richardson, Carson Wentz in the Chiefs JV, Cam Ward, Jake Browning. Like, these guys can absolutely feast on the lower levels. It's time to see it step up in class. That's the question here. And it's the question for the whole team, okay?
Sure.
And it is a valid question. Like, in terms of what we know, the question of whether this team is ready to consistently tackle and finish off and beat the quality foes in the NFL, it's still unanswered. I mean, they're going to get there at some point. I mean, they have to, right? They're going to have enough opportunities. I mean, if they don't, we're talking about this being an absolute failed season. They're going to get there. They're going to break through. Right now, it's just Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, week 3 last year. That's it. And then every other game since then, when they've had the chance against a quality foe, quality quarterback, all that, it's falling short. Well, here's another one on Sunday. I really do get the sense, Cease, that once it happens, it's going to happen again and again and again. But it's got to happen. They just have to have that breakthrough. They've got to have that's the thing. You're just waiting for that breakthrough moment for it to happen. Against a quality team with a quality quarterback. Because right now, you beat the Jets with Aaron Rodgers in the rain, but the Jets, they fired their coach not long after that. Right now, the one game to hang their hat on is Tampa Bay week 3 last year. And then since then, all the chances they've had, it's been, you had the blocked field goal in Kansas City. It's been close. I mean, they've come close time and again. And what we've seen now in the last roughly half season, it's been mainly the D that has come up short. So, what's it going to be? That's they're, like I said, they're going to figure it out eventually, and when they do, I think then it's going to be the domino effect. It's going to keep going and going and going. But until that happens, those questions aren't going away.
The questions remain for this Broncos defense. Another thing quickly, Mace, that we've learned over the first month is Dre Greenlaw would be nice. ILB still just, I know Dallas Goedert did not practice today, but Dallas Goedert could have a monster game, and we're just going to wait till when Greenlaw's healthy. But that after a month, we still know ILB is a problem.
Did you see Pro Football Focus only credited Singleton with 1 missed tackle? My notes, I had 2 on the first drive.
Yes.
I know some said 3. I didn't go for the third because what he did is he's actually guiding the ball carrier over to where a bunch of other defenders are. So that's actually a good play there.
Yeah, it's like hazing, keeping contained, basically.
Yeah, like that's fine. But like and Singleton got a game ball, as it turned out. I'll say this, it got much better for him after that first series. So he played better, but also can we say, was it just him playing better or was it the Bengals getting past their opener? See, this is another thing as well. The Bengals were reasonably effective in their opener, and then it was like that was all they had. So the Broncos played well defensively, but I do wonder how much of that was once Zach Taylor got past his opener. Everything just seemed there was no form to what they were doing, and we know. I mean, sometimes we see it with the Broncos and Sean Payton that opener can be really crisp, and then after that it turns clunky. Like sometimes teams just have that happen to them, and especially with offensive minded coaches and and good play designers. Like it can, Mike Shanahan suffered from that sometimes. The opener would be great, and then. Like that happened quite a bit. So
I love talking about the first 15, but Mace, you are correct. And it's something we historically kind of forget. Sometimes it was the first 15 and that was it.
I feel like today is devil's advocate day for me.
Okay.
A little bit. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm in that space. Maybe it's because I rewatched the game last night.
It definitely shows different.
24 hours had passed. It was after I went out for dinner and then I came back and I rewatched after the Dodgers Reds game ended. I went back and rewatched it, and the rewatch it was like I didn't like as much of I didn't as I watched it. It was like it was more this Bengal, especially on the offense. Like this Bengals team was really bad. Like that, it was like there was no plan after the first 15. It was mostly just
drive.
Yeah, it was heave and pray. Now, that being said, against this pressure package the Broncos have, it does force you to do that. But I mean, I think we've all seen the screen grab where you've got 4 blockers devoted to Zach Allen up the middle. Right. And then you got Coop and Nick on the edges. I mean, it's like there are sometimes you're like, what are you doing in your protection here? Cincinnati. Like there were some times it was just like awful what they were doing. But because of that, because you see things like that, okay, you've got, you still got the 2 guys getting home off the edge. Even though you'll have like 6 people in protection, the Broncos rushing 3, 4 of them devoted to 1 guy. And because you've got one-on-ones on the edge, they're going to get home. And so this is another thing. Bengals have the numbers advantage up front, and yet the Broncos are still getting home because they're so strong up front. And then there's just nowhere to throw because you've got the back end so well covered, and the Bengals just didn't have a chance. So I think they could have played 8 more quarters and the Bengals wouldn't have got another score after that initial field goal.
Yeah.
So credit to the Broncos D for being that good. But, here you are. You're against an Eagles offense that hasn't looked great, but it's Saquon Barkley. It's Jalen Hurts. It's the receivers they've got. Like, okay, this is a team. It hasn't come together yet, but they've got weapons. Even if Dallas Goedert doesn't play, here's a chance. Okay, here's a chance to do it on the road against a team that can dice you up, that's got a lot of different weapons. And we've seen Vance Joseph's D, even going back to 2023. Remember the Lions game? We've seen, even in the period of time when the D's been effective, starting from the Chiefs game in Kansas City, week 6 of that year, through the Raiders game in Vegas last year, the stretch where this D was extremely effective for about a season and a half, roughly. The games where they still had problems, think of the Lions game in Detroit, think of the Ravens game in Baltimore, were when you went against teams that had a bevy of weapons and it was pick your poison, right? The Eagles present some of those same challenges. Here's a chance to answer those questions, okay? So I view Sunday, maybe I'm a little bit optimistic after being devil's advocate. I view Sunday as an opportunity.
Okay.
And because here we are 4 weeks in and we still have questions. That's what do we know? What do we don't? There's still a ton that we don't know, especially, what we know is they're terrific individuals. We know Nick Bonito might be the most effective edge rusher in football right now. Okay. We know Talanoa Hufanga can cover so much space and cause so many problems. We know that. We know Pat Surtain, after a shaky couple of games there, certainly helped that Jake Browning was throwing the passes, but he locked down Jamar Chase on Monday night. Like that was vintage PS2. That was terrific. We know Riley Moss, man, sometimes he's going to get grabby, but he's tenacious AF out there. You love that.
And he loves it.
Yeah, and you're seeing Jahdae Barron. They're starting to figure out the multiple ways that they can use him and move him around, okay? So that's good. And maybe use him to provide a little bit more thump and variety and maybe give a relief to Justin Sternad while you wait for Dre Greenlaw to come in. So, hey, that's effective. That's good. So we know some things. But we still don't yet know about whether this D can really, really step it up and shut down a team that has a bunch of weapons like the Eagles do and a pretty good trigger man at the helm in Jalen Hurts. That's the thing. So here you go. You got this chance, and then you should be okay the next 2 weeks against the Jets and the Giants, and then after that, you get another guy who's going to pose some tough questions and another offense that'll do that, and Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. So you got 2 chances this month, barring injuries in Dallas, to answer those questions. So here you go. Again, at some point, this team's going to break through and do it, and the sooner it does, the better, because then after that, I think a lot of good things start happening for this team.
Opportunity knocks. It's not just an underrated Dana Carvey movie. The only Dana Carvey movie.
The only,
is
I mean,
the Lude,
that was the only vehicle that he had as the lead.
I actually liked it. And I'm a big Dana Carvey guy, so I'm super biased. Saw it in the theater, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I might watch it after this show. Anyway, we appreciate.
And then go watch the Dana Carvey show, brought to you by Diet Mug Root Beer.
I enjoy his entire catalog. We'd enjoy if you participate with us. Live chat, awesome. Drop a comment down below. What have you learned about the Broncos after the first month of the regular season? We want to know. Mason, I'll go back and forth with you. We appreciate you for helping us out here on YouTube. But, Mace, there are other ways to help us out on YouTube. What are those ways?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you never miss a vid. That's right. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I am at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's a BFD. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?
For over 20 years, my family, like so many of you, has proudly been part of Broncos Country.
Every season, we feel the energy, passion, and commitment that defines this team.
And now, we are honored to be the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos.
Ramos Law. What makes us different?